Let's now continue with blocking out the scene, and that's something I always like to do when I have some more complex geometry or architectural scene, or something that I really need to figure out the composition for. And basically it's just placing a lot of cubes and objects all around the scene to represent the final object. So let's just add a plane. So Shift 8, as you remember, and add a plane. Now we can go right into the edit mode, since this will be a one object for all the platforms, and move it somewhere here to the edge of this platform under the building. And you can just drag selection around these, press GX to move, and move this around. And yeah, let's move this one here. That's G and Y. And here it's a little bit hard to see, but as you can see, this radius is going this way, so the edge will be probably somewhere here. So let's drag it there. Yeah, I think something like this. Okay, now we can select all with A and Shift D to duplicate this platform, and let's move it to match the corner right here. And right now you can just select these two vertices and press G twice. As you can remember, that's the edge slide. And then select these bottom ones, press G twice and slide those two. And now we can select this by pressing L, hovering over it. That's select linked, as you can remember. And let's press Shift D to duplicate, move it somewhere here. You can press R, Z, 90 to rotate, and it would have worked without Z. It's just a habit for me. And let's move this with G somewhere here. GY to move this, GX to move this here. So we approximately have the locations of our platforms, and right now just press A twice quickly to deselect and select this one with L, select linked, and I want to bevel these to create this radius. And you can remember it's the bevel tool with vertex options. It's Control B and V, but there's another way how to do that. You don't need to do Control B and then V. You can just hold Control Shift and press B to enable this vertex bevel. But I don't like this shortcut, because the Control and Shift are like really hard to press with fingers and then reach all the way to the B. And basically what I found, it's much more easier for me to just press Control B and then V, and it's much more comfortable. So yeah, but again, I want you to know about these options. And right now let's increase this to 5 segments, and it's a little bit visible on the render underneath. And let's match this. Okay, and right now we can select these, Control B and V, and here as well. Now you can rotate. Let's select all with A, and we'll extrude this a little bit. I think something like this. Maybe you can use 0.1 on the keyboard. So let's use that to be really precise. And these are the bases for our platforms. Okay, we can now just tap out of this and move the cursor in the middle here. So let's go to the top view, hold Shift and right click somewhere in the middle of the platform, so the cursor is placed there. And right now we can just add the plane. So Shift A, add a plane, go into the edit mode, and if you remember, by holding Z you can switch modes. So hold Z go to the left to switch the wireframe. And right now we need to match these to the building on the platform. The outline you can see right here, and only the front side has a radius on the walls. So let's try to match that, and this will go all the way somewhere, I think here. Yeah, let's leave this side right here, and I will show you later why. And just move this one and match the sides. We won't be moving this one here because the building will actually end there, and this here is basically only the extended platform of the roof over the building, and it's not visible from here, but if you would be working with the side reference you would see that. So yeah, just leave it like this, or approximately match it to the stairs. So where the stairs start, the building should end. Okay, and right now we can select these two vertices here, and we'll of course bevel these, so Ctrl B then V, and let's make it 5 segments again and match the radius on the building. We can rotate this right now, go to the solid view, and let's select all, and of course we need to extrude this, so press E and drag it up. And the height of the building, it really depends on you, but I think you want to go somewhere like this with the height of the building. You can of course adjust that with G and Z later. And what I want you to do right now is to extend this a little bit more. So press E to extrude and drag this up a little bit. Yeah, and right now I want you to select the loop around here, so let's go to the face select by pressing 3 and alt click here to select the loop around, but I want you to deselect this one, so shift click that one, and we'll extrude this outside, so it's alt E and extrude faces along normals. And as you can remember, we can enable even thickness with S. So let's do that and make it like this. So we have a little crevice there for the roof. And right now I want to show you something that I use quite often and will use a lot in this particular scene. And it's reusing the existing geometry to create new objects. And I do this all the time, so let's just switch to the edge select by pressing 2, and I want to extend the roof over the pumps right here, as you can see on the reference. Let me go to the wireframe view, and that's the roof right here. And I know the roof is going from here under and all the way here, and instead of like placing the cursor and creating a plane, rotating, extruding the object, you can reuse the existing geometry from the existing object to create something new. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's just select this edge right here under. I hope you can see that all right. And we'll press Shift D to duplicate this edge. So let's press Shift D. And you can of course move that, but I want to cancel. But the edge is there and it's duplicated. And right now there's a command where you can select certain parts of the mesh and separate them into the new object. And I think you can find it here in the mesh under separate. Yeah, it's right here. Separate, but you can see there is a P, so let's press P and separate selection. And right now if you tab out and click here a few times, it's really hard to see, but you should be able to see that you selected the edge, and if not, you can always go here in the outline view and locate the new object. It will have the same name that the object before, but the number higher. And right now we can go into the edit mode of this new object, and I'd like to point out that this technique has only one pitfall, and that's basically the origin point is the same as the original object that it was created from, which doesn't matter in this case. I really don't care where the pivot point for the roof is, since I won't be moving it, and basically I don't mind that the platforms and maybe the building and other objects will have the same origin point, since they're the static architecture objects in the scene. So no worries about that, and if there would be a problem, it's very easy to change the origin point at the same. So yeah, I really like to use this. And let's now just select all, and you can see how it's highlighted. So let's just switch to the top view, go to the wireframe, and we can extrude it on the y-axis, so E and then Y, and all the way here where the roof ends. And right now we just need to modify these edges, so let's click this one, press G twice, move it here, this one, G twice, move it here, and as you can guess, let's go to the vertex select by pressing 1, select these two vertices, and let's press Ctrl B and V to bevel, and we can leave the 5 segments and match the radius of the reference image. Right now, if you rotate, you can just select all and extrude this down a little bit, so press E and extrude it down. And it should be roughly similar than the roof here, but doesn't have to be perfect. And right now just press A to select all and Shift N just in case we messed up the normals. So that's something I always like to do when I extrude something, or when I do these extrusions from the separated geometry, because you never know how the normals were on the original object and how it fits your new object. So yeah, Shift N to recalculate normals to the outside. And yeah, here's our roof, and it was really quick to create this new object by only separating the part of the previous mesh. And this will be the technique we'll be used quite often from now on. Now let's just name our object, so we are a little bit tidy here, because this will get really messy later. So let's select the platforms and call these platforms actually, and we can call this building 1, and yeah, we can call this pump roof. I can make a space here. Okay, the next thing I want to do is to create a sign here over the roof. So we'll need to move the cursor there. First, let's rotate to the top view, and I want to place this here. This is the sign from the top view. So let's place the cursor on the roof in the middle of the sign. So hold Shift and right click here, and let's add a new plane. Go into the edit mode, and we can scale this to match the length, and again to match the width. Maybe tab out and move it a little bit here. Okay, go right back into the edit mode, and we'll rotate this. Go into the solid view, and you need to extrude this again. The height is totally up to you. I will go with something like this here. Okay, and I want to create a really soft radius here, and we can use a bevel tool for that. So let's press 2 for edge select and select these two edges. So by holding Shift, press Ctrl B, now without V because we are beveling the edges. You can go one segment less than on the radiuses on the buildings and build something like this. And right now go back to this selection as before, so these two edges, select them by holding shift. And right now enable proportional editing by pressing O here, leave the small fall off smooth. Now press G, then Z, and grab this up. And you can go for a smaller fall off. You can push this a little bit like this. And yeah, the fall off is basically the size of the object itself. So you just push it a little bit up so the radius is a little bit more subtle. You confirm, and right away you can do that again. So let's press G and Z again. Let's make the fall off smaller. So you just make a little bit of an adjustment on the edges here. Yeah, and that's a nice soft radius right there. Okay, let's tab out of this. Let's exit the edit mode. We turned off the proportional editing. No, we didn't, so let's turn off proportional editing so it doesn't surprise us next time. And let's tab out. And yeah, don't forget to save your scene, so Ctrl S to save. And we can move on to the next object, and it will be pillars here. Let's create those pillars, and I want you to snap the cursor right here on the platform below. So yeah, hold shift, right click. And we'll start by adding a circle, a mesh circle. So let's press shift A, mesh, and here don't go with the cylinder, but start with the circle, and I will explain. Don't click anywhere yet because we need this tool add circle right here, because we need to modify the vertex count, and I want to modify this to 8. So let's press 8. I use this a lot lately, where I start creating by adding a circle instead of cylinder, and that's because I want to have the pivot point at the bottom of the pillar, and I don't want to move the cylinder around. And I think it's easier right now to just create a circle and then extrude a cylinder from that. So yeah, let's tab in and press F to fill. So we'll create an n-gon here, so press F. You can see there's a face in place, and right now I want to go to the top view and the wireframe, and I managed to place it quite alright here, but let's see, let's scale this down, and I want the pillar to be maybe this thick. Okay, and let's tab out so we leave the origin point as is. Let's move it somewhere where it can copy these radius better. And right now let's just go to the front view. So yeah, you can hold Alt and just drag with the middle mouse button and tap right back in. We have all selected, so just extrude the pillar here. Okay, and right now we can go back to the top view, tab out, and duplicate this with Alt D, so it's a linked duplicate. So Alt D, press X to lock it here, and move it to the other side. Doesn't have to be too precise. Okay, so that's for the basic pillars, and right now if you look from the side, you can do the adjustment, so you can tab in, select all, and maybe scale by pressing S and Shift Z to lock on the X and Y plane to adjust the thickness. So yeah, something like this. Okay, let's tab out. Now we'll create the second building on the top of this one. So yeah, the idea behind that is that this is the original building, and the owner of the station just built the new building from some scraps, and it has a really different styling than this. So yeah, let's move the cursor here. So shift right click, move to the top view and wireframe, and here you can see we misplaced the cursor a little bit because the building is right here. Place it right here, so hold shift and right click. Let's press shift A to add a plane, and I think this matches the building proportions quite alright, and we have this overlap here, so that's okay. So let's just go into the edit mode, rotate this and extrude the building. This can be yeah, it can be high similarly to the building underneath, just like here. So yeah, I think this is okay. And one last thing I want to do, I want to create a little slope on the roof. So let's go to the edge select this edge right here, and press G and Z to move this a little bit up. Okay, and we can now tab out, and don't forget to name the object. So we can name this building too. This object here I will name sign, and here we can give it name pillar, and for this one 2, and Blender will automatically add the number here. And one last thing to do here is to create this overlap on the roof here. I really want to separate this roof from the building because I want a little bit simpler geometry when we'll be working with the building underneath. So let's just select this, and right now we can go to the face select the top face right here, and press plus to expand the selection. And I want to add this loop too, so press Alt and Shift, you already know this, and click here to add this loop here. And I want to add this one too, so Alt, Shift, and this one here as well. And I want to separate this roof, so without duplicating, just press P to separate, confirm with Enter. And right now we can tab out, select the new object, and it's okay, it's named building 1001 because it's the part that goes with the building, and if you search for that later, it'll be easy to identify that. So let's tab in, and I want to clean up this geometry a little bit, so you can switch to the local view. Let's press slash. And right now I don't want this edge here, this face loop, so let's go with the face select, and we can delete these two faces here. So let's press X and delete faces, and right now you can select this loop here and just press X and delete faces. So we now only have this loop right here, and the easy thing to do right now is to go to the edge select by pressing 2, select this loop right here, fill with F, alt click here, fill with F, the same thing, and select these two edges and fill again. So the roof is now much more simpler. It's just this face loop and some n-gons at the top and the bottom. Okay, and right now with this selected, we can go out of the local view and go to the side view. So let's hold Alt and move the middle mouse. And this is what I was talking about, where I didn't get this on the first time perfectly. So that's why I sometimes just press the numpad 3, so I know exactly where I will go and where I will end up. And right now I want to modify this to match this wall here, so let's press G, then Y, and move this roughly around here. And right now I want to align this perfectly, so there's no overlapping here. And Blender 2.8 has an amazing functionality where you can edit multiple objects at once. So let's tab out and shift select this one as well, so we have 2 objects selected. And if you tab in, you can see you are in edit mode for the both objects. And right now we can go back to the side view with numpad 3, go to the wireframe, vertex select by pressing 1, let's drag a selection around those, and we can scale them perfectly by pressing S, then Y on the Y axis, and we can press 0 and enter. And right now they're scaled perfectly. Okay, let's tab out, move to the solid view, and yeah, basically this is some basic blocking for the buildings and the concrete structures for the scene, and we can move on to the next object.